Record. Wow. Okay. Okay. Okay, you are live.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting, regular board session of the Rankin School Board to order on 3/16/26 at 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. Could we call the roll, please?
Tim Hunter,
Present.
Craig Benelli,
Here.
Rachel McWhirter, here, Craig McClure,
Here.
and Kara Taylor. Here.
And would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance with our student representative? Please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to remind people that this is a meeting of the board held in public and not a public meeting. There will be a chance for public participation. For those in the audience, if you would turn your cell phones off, and our board members turn their cell phones off. And if you want to have a sidebar conversation, please take it out into the hall. Could we have a motion for the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Call the question, please.
Did
Nope.
you want to
We're just
table?
gonna table it.
As we do.
You can table it when you do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ready?
Yes. Call
Tim
the question.
Hunter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Rachel McWhirter,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Kara Taylor.
And the agenda is approved unanimously. Recognition. We had family engagement night.
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit as well. We had a great turnout last Wednesday night. We had, probably at least 100 people here. The cafeteria was full with families and parents and teachers. And we just want to give a huge shout out to Molly Ender, our district social worker, and Liza Eschelier, our GT and MLL coordinator. They planned the whole thing with a team of teachers and community partners. We want to give a shout out to SCYC. They partnered with us. They provided all of the childcare and a number of things, and to all the facilitators who came here to present. We had folks from as far as Denver that came and presented. It was a great success, first annual, and so now we have a plan for how we can continue to do that. But lots of really powerful workshops. We're getting feedback, learning from it, and we'll make adjustments.
Great.
I have one to add. Family engagement was awesome. A lot of people have talked about that. I also wanted to shout out to the second grade class. And you guys all received the email from Ms. Shanti's class. Ms. Ramirez's class also did it. Their project-based learning was on how to advocate, and a lot of them advocated for things around the school, whether it's for a climbing wall, a bigger school for more space in the hallways.
More pay for teachers. I had a
More pay for
special
teachers.
meeting with 2 individuals. We
Yes,
brought
they
cookies and
They
advocated.
passed around a donation box, which was really sweet. Robots for cleaning the bathroom or helping to clean up trash outside. Lots of really fun ideas came out of that second grade class. I thought they did a great job.
I really like the breakdancing as a fundraiser idea. That might have been my favorite part.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't see that one.
It was great just to see them advocate. That was a really good thing.
I also have
Yeah,
something to
yes.
On behalf of the industrial tech department of the school, they created this thank you plaque to give to Alpaca Raft for the donation of a laser cutter that we did rearrange last month.
Nice. All right.
Tim, should there be any response from us to the second grade class, to the advocates?
I sent a personal email to Shanti and that was read to the class saying thank you for doing this. Don't know what we can do about budget and things being what they are, but very, very much appreciate them giving us that feedback.
I would say anytime, I don't know, as a board, if you want to do something, you can certainly discuss that. I think every time something comes through, the teachers read it to the students, which is very exciting. So if there's any of that wants to be done. I'm going to send their letters that I got to the state, since I said Mancus just voted on for teachers and staff money, and so that we would pass that on, so.
Great.
I don't know if there's ever been a board action towards.
But we can certainly discuss that for future agendas.
Yep, I'll take a note.
Okay. We did have a board retreat last Sunday on the 8th. The board got together and we discussed a lot of things about governance, how the board should be working, how we're gonna steer the ship, board relations to the community, board relations with our superintendent. Anybody wanna say anything about the retreat?
Just wanna thank Monica Johnson for coming down from Casby. On a Sunday, that was big, that was, the day that worked for all of us, and so she came down for that. Yeah, I thought we, came together as a board. It was kind of one of the first times that we've gotten to just us kind of sit down and go through some things, and I thought it was great.
Anyone else?
I really appreciated it. There was a lot of information that I knew, but it was also good to get more clarification on the policies, procedures, best practices.
All right. Okay, do we have any public participation?
No, sir, you do not.
All right, then we'll go on to reports to the board. Student voice.
Okay, so from the survey that we did, I collected the 3 most important things to the high schoolers and middle schoolers, and then I included actually 3 that correspond to both. So in high school, we want a change in attendance. This can look like, for a lot of people, it was really confusing with like the finals and attendance being taken into consideration, because I think a lot of people were marked as unexcused, and a lot of kids felt it was unfair if like you woke up with a fever and you're probably going to be fine the next day. They didn't feel like you should have to go to the hospital to get a note or something like that. Just like maybe more clarification and more specifics with that. And then high schoolers want longer lunch, because I've heard like if you walk to Conoco, it can take like 10 minutes, or like if you go to a restaurant, it can take like 15 minutes to get your food or something like that. And their proposition was to get rid of advisory, so you could extend lunch. And then they also want a change in phone policy. I'm not exactly sure what this would look like yet, but I think I'm gonna arrange a meeting with Mr. Gardner, Rhett, and Mr. Custer to talk about attendance and phone policy. And then the middle schoolers really want to be able to choose their electives. I know that's like really important, and for me it was like the most fun part about going into middle school is like being able to like be a bit more adult and like be like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And it also like establishes like a sense of pride, like I'm doing something that I'm proud of. And then they want more time outside and no more IXL. I need to talk to them a bit more about like what that would look like, but maybe it could look like not as much IXL, but still incorporated into their learning. And then for both, I see like a lot of need for school community engagement, and that's what we do in Student Alliance, so we're working on it. But they love like the dress-up days, like before prom or like before a break, and a lot of the middle schoolers said they love the raffles that they used to do. I don't even think they really do them anymore. And then they want no more finals, specifically in high school. But I've talked to some teachers about this, and I feel like I do understand how finals are important, and I think that we should be taking them. But I think there could be some adjustments made, because right now they take up 10% of your grade. So like, I think I had like a 99 or something in drones, and then I got a B+ on the final, and it brought me down to like a 90. And I was like, I could have had such a better grade. And it's like, I don't know, it was something like that. But I don't know, maybe just making adjustments to the percentage that it brings you up or down, because like for me, I try to get good grades, but for someone who's struggling to get good grades, it could either like make it completely worse or make it like 10 times better.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How do you, I appreciate that you're gonna check in with Mr. Gardner to get some more details on that you're using that feedback to just go straight to the source on some stuff. How would you like us to engage with that, or connect, like me, just kind of, what are some of your recommendations on how we could take some action, or the board could look, I know, like, I even know Rachel mentioned, like, we need to check into that phone policy since it's a new policy and things like that as well from the board level, but what are your thoughts and suggestions to me and our group, around,
Yeah.
making sure that we listen and potentially take action on some of these?
I think maybe we could include you or like another member of the board in that discussion with Mr. Gardner, because I know like sometimes like the attendance thing was like a big problem and kids were like, wait, why do I have this many points? And like I felt like my parents were calling in, or like sometimes it wouldn't like necessarily register, I guess, when the parents were calling in. There was just a lot of confusion there, and I think establishing more like specific guidelines, like I missed a lot of school because I had pneumonia, and that was like, I was really worried about my points. It ended up being okay, but like for some people there was just a lot of issues, and I think just having like those open conversations about like what can we do to fix this. And with the phone policy, I think in high school I understand both, because it's fun to like have your friends online, but like it's also important that you engage in person. But a lot of the things that I got on the responses from the students is like, we're old enough to be able to control ourselves, at least they claim that they're able to, and like maybe you're allowed to use it after you finished your work, and as long as you're not like failing in classes. I don't know exactly how that would be enforced. It might be difficult, but I think a lot of students would appreciate like the trust from the teachers to have that. And then I'm not entirely sure who I would talk to about this, but choosing electives for middle school I think would be something that I would like to talk to you guys about, because that's really important.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're talking to the source on some things. I will share this stuff these things with our school leaders.
Yeah.
And some of the things around electives and programming guidance stuff, since Mr. Hughes is leaving, I'm kind of keeping a pulse over at the high school, mostly, but I'll check in with the middle school around what that is and maybe what are the opportunities.
Yeah.
Anything else for Greta?
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. So we will move on to the district accountability report.
Yeah. All right, so we had a district accountability committee meeting last week, where we were learning about student academic outcomes and accountability challenges the district's facing. We had some celebrations for some things. Family Connection Night, even though it hadn't happened yet. The MELC Parent Committee fundraiser event on April 18th. A couple shout outs to Alice Miller and other folks who have contributed to the Mill Levy Committee. Janet Fogel for aligning HR and recruiting processes. Lewis Horton for expanding after-school programs. And Audion was celebrating the future newly revamped PPL exhibition night, and then a celebration that some middle schoolers get to go to Chaco Canyon after all. So some fun things there. We did give Audrey some of our ideas on qualities and experiences for a new secondary principal, that we hope she took along with all her other listening sessions, as we go towards finding a new secondary principal. And then we had, some great presentations on what accountability means, how, the Colorado Board of Department of Education, and their frameworks on assessments and evidence, looking at formative versus summative. Tara Hughes from the MELC did this great little exercise where she got us to think about what we can learn from experiencing an actual apple versus what we might learn from experiencing a drawing of an apple on a piece of paper. And so it was really fun, but really just honed in on her point that things need to be developmentally appropriate, and especially over in the preschool, how they learn through experiencing things. And some great things from Mary Marable at the elementary school on their assessments, the beginning and mid-year and end-of-year assessments that take place at the elementary school, and how 60% of their focus is on the growth that happens throughout the year. She spoke a little bit about iReady, which is a new math curriculum over there at the elementary school, and the data that the teachers are getting from the assessments that go with that, and how they're able to adjust their instruction. And there's something in there called Your Map or Make Your Map.
My Path.
My Path, there it is. I didn't have it written down, but My Path, which allows for students to kind of take an individual direction into what they're learning. It sounds like very specifically on the program, on the computer for a designated time, but that can really help the teachers with giving individualized instruction to a group of 15 or so kids who are all on different paths. And then in the secondary, we looked at career exploration in the middle school, high school, the different things happening in the high school, looking at portfolio, and then CTE classes, being career ready. And so there's kind of it looked like a menu option of different ways that high school seniors, the assessments or projects or things that they can do to graduate. And then we talked a little bit about CMAS and how we have a high opt-out rate for CMAS, which gives us a little bit of gap in the information. The data is disaggregated in certain ways. And then we reviewed what it meant for what's meant by the school's innovation status. And that was a big one that we had wanted to learn about, that was brought to the group. And so learning from Audrey, and I hope I got this right, I'm pretty sure I did, but it was basically, there was one around, it's a waiver around teacher qualifications and hiring. It has to do specifically with a specific pathway in our district for unlicensed teachers to get their license within 3 years as a district employee. And then the other one was around teacher evaluation and going to a 3-year evaluation cycle for the non-probationary teachers. So, and then sometimes we're referred to as an innovation zone because we're a collection of schools rather than one school. So getting some clarity on that. From the presentations there and some additional discussion, we had a few recommendations. A few for Audrey, 2 for Audrey were communicating what the innovation status means for the Mancos, not only for the school district, but for families and the broader school community. And then we encouraged her to research options for information systems that can fill that data gap that we have by not doing CMAS. And so basically there's software information systems out there that can take the data that we get from the NWA assessments that we get, and then it can run it through Power School and then get the data that we need, but that is gonna be a cost investment. So we encourage her to at least research what the different options might be in lieu of that. And then if it's determined that really it would just be better to have more people opt in to do CMAS so we can actually just get that CMAS data, then really focusing on how to communicate that to parents. Because I was in a DAC meeting once and everyone in the meeting, including staff who had kids in the district, opted out of doing the CMAS. So if that's really the best option for getting the data that's needed to inform instruction and make improvements in instruction in the classroom, then that needs to be communicated effectively to our school community and families. And so that kind of related to one of our recommendations for the board is to make sure as you're communicating with members of the community that there is an assessment process in place, and then how does that align with the goals of the district, and then how the data is used to inform instruction. And then as secondary to that is, as the board is looking at revising the mission and the vision for the school district, the mission statements, focusing on whether or not those should look at growth versus benchmarks achieved. And we felt as a DAC that growth is really what we're after and not so much, specific benchmarks that are achieved. And so then making sure, again, communicating why the focus is on the growth rather than a specific benchmark. And then we have our next meeting is Tuesday, April 14th. Don't have an agenda yet, but we will be talking about the phone policy because that is of interest to several people on the DAC to know where's the phone policy at and are we comfortable with where it's at. So Greta, if you want to come to the DAC meeting, you're more than welcome to give student voice. We love when the students come to the DAC meetings. And they always offer good insight, so.
Yeah, maybe when you check in with Mr. Gardner, maybe that could be bring in Mr. Gardner and some students and we can have a robust conversation.
Yeah.
Do we have a board member for that one?
I don't have one for that one because this is,
It's kind of our year in review and anything else that we didn't get to in the DAC, and the phone policy is one that I know for sure that we haven't got to, that we did want to touch base on, so.
do we want to make sure we have a board member at that one? Since it might end up being since the policy's part of the conversation, because we'll look at the guidelines and the policy.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm able, it's not necessary that I be the one, but I'm able.
Go for it.
Okay.
I don't know, we don't have to have a board member.
It's kind of nice to have one though, just so you have, like when I was on the finance one, it was kind of nice to just have input and kind of hear what's going on, so.
That's all I have.
All right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Anybody have any?
I was just gonna add what Sarah's talking about, kind of back to our conversation and to the public is, we're not changing anything right now. We are deep diving into some of the things that are happening at the state level, our innovation plan, and, what are the current needs and desires of the district, in terms of the strategic plan and kind of how that all lines up. So we're kind of in a study process right now. I'm not advocating for any one thing. I just want us to have all the information at the table, so as things, as the state updates the school performance framework or makes recommendations about assessments or anything like that, we're ready and informed for any of those conversations, should they come our way.
else? All right, then we will, thank you very much. That was comprehensive.
Thanks, Sarah.
And we had looked over in our work session some of the slideshow and things that you guys were presenting, so we were briefed a little bit about it, but appreciate that insight. So, LRAC.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on right now, but I have some highlights for you all. There's Senate Bill 26-139, the local educator provider workforce housing bill, which just dropped. I mentioned this earlier, I think, but now it's official, or it's officially being considered. It's also nicknamed the Better Bill, kind of after the BEST Act, and it would allow school districts to build workforce housing by applying for grants that are funded by investment income from state lands. It currently has conditional support from LRAC, so that there can still be a conversation about concerns as the bill progresses.
Can I ask about that one? So Tim and I sat in a session on that one at
Okay.
CASB, and it wasn't funding the construction, it was funding low-interest mortgages. So has it changed to actually funding the construction?
My understanding is that it's about the construction and not about mortgages.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
well,
yeah.
that's a change, which is actually probably a good change.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's worded is that school districts can build workforce housing, so.
That was 26-139.
26-139, yep.
Yep.
All right, and then Senate Bill 26-103, at-risk public school programs and public accountability. This bill will require school districts and charter schools to adopt a policy that directs additional resources and support towards at-risk public school students. It is currently an unfunded mandate, so CASB and LRAC are not voting in favor, or are advocating in favor of it. And it essentially, it seems like it is requiring policy for things that schools are doing already, so, which means putting resources towards at-risk students specifically.
Was it, do you know if it's resources outside the allocated resources that we already received? Like, is it in addition to, so like we get specific funding that needs to be directed towards at-risk?
There's no funding with it, so it's just about creating policy that ensures that district funding goes towards at-risk students.
Right, no, I mean, in what they're suggesting, are they saying that the districts would earmark additional monies, which, I mean, I'm just curious about the wording.
The wording is resources, so that could be
Okay.
interpreted in different ways, I imagine.
Just
Yeah.
curious about
And then House Bill 26-1231, physical therapists gave a presentation on this to LRAC. It's about physical therapists allowing to perform sports physicals, to sign off on forms to participate or to return to play. The idea being that it would benefit rural districts with less access to diverse medical practitioners, and the LRAC voted on Friday to support this bill. SB 26023 is the School Finance Act. This is just trying to increase the statewide base per pupil funding for this budget year by $217.30 to account for inflation. It's still kind of up in the air because of our budget constraints at the state level, but then there's also Senate Bill 26135, state public K-12 education funding, which just passed the Education Committee. As it stands now, there would be 2% allocated annually to each district outside of the school finance formula, which could only go to increasing teacher pay, improving teacher retention, reducing class size, and expanding access to career and technical education. And this would be funded by a 10-year, I don't know what the right word is, pullback of TABOR. Waiver, that's a good word.
Refunds.
Yeah, waiver of TABOR refunds, which, and also part of that bill is that the TABOR cap would be raised gradually throughout the 10 years. yeah, so that's all I've got on that for LRAC.
All right. Any other questions on that? Anything from CASB?
The CASB brief this week was basically about LRAC, so I would be redundant in saying anything about
Okay.
it.
All right. Then we'll go on to Rachel and BOCES.
This is our month where we do not have a meeting,
Oh, you were so lucky.
because nobody's spring breaks aligned, so we just don't do one during March.
I can report a little bit about BOCES.
Go for it.
The Superintendent's Advisory Council, we've been working closely together with Royce, the Executive Director, and Scotty, the business manager, finance manager, and working to develop a model, what's it called? Obviously, the model, the local assessment model, that it hasn't been revised in a while, I think, and so to be a little bit more balanced and reflecting the different needs, sizes of the districts, but also make sure that every district that can, access BOCES and provide services. So it's been, I think we're getting close to landing on a formula that everybody can, we're not approving it, recommend for the board to continue to look at. So it's been a really good conversation, I think. Just a lot of collaboration across, between all of the superintendents from Pagosa to Dove Creek, in support of making sure all of our schools get really great services from BOCES.
Great. That's important stuff. That will be right into your report.
Yes, okay, it's a busy time, and,
No.
but I also, as I was doing this report, I realized it's only been like 3 weeks, because I think our March, somehow we're squeezed in there with the short February and the early March meeting, or the way that the months line up, so I'm gonna be ready for this one next year at this time. I just want to hit a couple things in the superintendent's report. We also had our retreat together, but again, celebrating the Family Connections Night. We're excited to get some of the data from that evening to be able to recommend. One group that I left out is that we had a group of students who came and helped facilitate circle processes with parents so they could see what that is like and how to have restorative conversations. So thanks to those, I think they were mostly high schoolers that came and did that. A big group of them for Family Connections Night, so you see some pictures there. Our district-wide school climate survey is still open through the end of the week. Students, staff, and families are being surveyed all around the same indicators around school climate, and so we're really looking forward to getting that information back after spring break to really look at where are we strong in our areas and where do we need to really put our efforts at looking to improve around school climate. Similar to what some of the things, I'm sure some of the things that Greta was finding out, we'll see in some of the open responses, but it should be some really good data. It's been a while, I think, at the district level where we've had a comprehensive survey that looks at that we can use for improvement efforts. And if you're a parent in this group, you have the opportunity to take that survey, you have the opportunity to take the survey through the end of the week. So, did you take it, folks? I wanted to give an update on where we are with our goal around engaging learning, and by the end of the year, having an instructional model and a framework that's in alignment pre-K 12 around what challenging is and what classroom instruction, what are the key elements of instruction no matter what class you're in. And so on Friday, Adion Farrar led us in a great session unpacking the word challenge and looking at what does it look like in classrooms, what would you see, what does it look like, how do you plan for it, and bringing in research and best practices around that, and then pairing that with teachers brought in some of their best practices and artifacts from the classroom so that we have shared understanding, shared language, and that we're all on the same page about what challenges. So there's a couple of artifacts from that. Our goal next month is to begin drafting that instructional model with everybody's input so that we can start next year with a really strong draft, and that'll be something that'll be in refinement over the course of the year. Because it's really a tool for teachers, so. That is underway. In cohesive systems, I think we've been spending, this is where the bulk of our energy has been this last month as we get ready to, this time of year as a district, getting ready to plan for next year. The recruiting and hiring updates, a couple of updates there are, we had a nice presence at the recruitment fair. We have aligned our hiring panel practices so that all hiring panels are have a training before every interview session, that we're using the same procedures, same question sets with modification, same feedback protocols, and our hiring managers are supported by none other than Janet Fogel, who's been running a mile a minute on all of that. And tomorrow is a big day. We have 3 finalists for the principal position coming in for a full day of interviews and getting to know the community. And our students have had a lot of say and input on that. I think we heard back from about 50 students, so we too got some of that data that you got. And there'll be a student panel tomorrow. They worked on their questions today. We synthesized the student and family and staff feedback for those panels to make sure our question sets developed out of that. And that as we're looking at those recommendations, we're aligning with them. What the community is saying that they're hoping to see in a candidate, and should we be successful, we might have someone hired soon. If we're not, we'll go back to it's still early in the season, so we want to find the right fit. So there's a lot going on there, but it's exciting, and there should be some sustainable systems underway. And another thing I just wanted to make note, because it's that time of year where we send a lot of kids outside, is that Lewis Horton and Adian Farrar are working together to review our field studies, our field trip practices, our off-campus trip protocols to make sure that we're sending students out where we've reviewed all our safety procedures, making sure everything's in place, our ratios, and then also making sure that it's really strong learning experiences. So it's a big effort to take kids off campus, but it's definitely worth the effort and really valuable. And just thanks to all the people behind the scenes to make it happen, to Lewis and Adian for helping support our teachers with really clear criteria and checklists. Will's sitting right here, he'll get to look at all of that as well, just to make sure that all those things are in place, and the volunteers that come out and support kids. So those, I think, yeah, and if you have any questions about tomorrow, feel free to shoot those out right now, or any questions about the superintendent report, but.
So tomorrow you're doing a meet and greet for the community at
Yes.
4:15.
At 4:15 in the west wing, in that big hallway, the candidates will be there for, you can check in with them, ask them questions, and provide feedback. Staff, parents, students. And at lunch, students will, they'll be eating lunch with students, and there's a number of ways that students can engage through the day.
All right.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Any questions?
Audrey. Okay, well, the Board of Education performed a yearly evaluation of the superintendent. And this evaluation process, we reviewed 4 standards. We reviewed instruction and achievement, culture and human resources, management, board relations, and community relations. And there were several, up to 5 categories under each of those 4 standards. And we had a rubric, and the results of the evaluation shows that our superintendent has an overall moderate command of all of the standards, is meeting expectations, and showing increasingly strong leadership within the district. And we are very appreciative of what you've been doing for us and with us and for our students, and look forward for the next year.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
So that was that, and I just lost all of my forward page when I
Yeah,
went
good luck getting
when I went and looked up that. Let me get back to that. Because now I've lost my. That's why I like paper. Because I,
Around the strategic plan objective report, which we heard a lot of from Sarah. Audrey, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Onto, oh yeah, no, I think that, I just wanted to make sure that that was in the record of the public meeting, the report that both you heard and the DAC, and so.
yeah,
No, just a lot of great work underway and excited. I was excited at how well I wasn't surprised, but I'm just glad that looking at student work and data on regular cycles is a really valuable way of making sure that we're, know where our students are. So sometimes there's lots of big stuff up here, but it's, what's happening with our teachers, getting that time to reflect on all those assessments.
okay. We had talked about a resolution, which is on our agenda from Senate Bill 26-135. I think, Rachel, would you make a motion on tabling that for us?
Sure, I move that we table the resolution, Senate Bill 26-135 at this time to a later date after we've had more of a chance to discuss and possibly bring in our representatives.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second, any discussion on the resolution tabling? Call the question, please.
Tim Hunter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Kira Taylor.
Aye.
And then I will take a motion for our consent agenda, which has 3 items on it.
So moved.
Is there a second on the consent agenda?
Second.
You have several seconds on it. Is there any discussion it's approving minute meetings and paying their bills and some personnel recommendations, mostly for coaching?
Was there one that we were, secondary level administrative?
No?
That's on there too.
It's on there.
It is on there.
No, I know, but I'm saying, as they're improving it, do we want to?
Oh, and then
Yeah,
yeah, so we have hired a secondary administrative assistant to replace Alice, and that will be Mariel Mum.
And so she'll be starting after break, working alongside Alice Miller, so that there's a strong transition as Alice starts her official work in the business officers as we were, she's transitioning, so kind of a shifting over, so.
Okay. So we have motion, second, and we've had discussion. We'll call the question on our consent agenda, please.
Tim Hunter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Kira Taylor.
Aye.
And the motion is approved unanimously. Upcoming calendar. I need to pull up the calendar. We have, it's easier for me to do it this way. Sometimes my electronics do work. Our next board meeting is, what is it? We have our work session on April 6th.
Yep.
Our next board meeting is on the 20th. And is there anything else in between that people need to be aware of?
No, I think that on the work session, we'll be talking about the melody.
Right.
And then I'll be looking that we have flagged that by the 20th, we've got it flagged to look at our engaging learning goal and maybe sharing more about what I highlighted today around building that instructional model and looking at our aligned curriculum, and we'll have some curriculum recommendations and updates by then as well.
Great.
But that will be in that meeting.
Anyone else need to add?
I'm gonna look quickly at the calendar. I accidentally closed it, but I do wanna make
Anyone else
sure.
need to add anything to our calendar of events or any other issues that they want to be brought up with? Our next thing is to future agenda items. If you want to, now would be the time to throw those out if you have something that we need to look at.
I would like to propose that we have Royce come in and talk to us about just BOCES, kind of BOCES overall, and maybe with this new assessment, she could explain that as well.
Mhm.
So maybe see if we could get maybe the May or the June work session would be a good time, since April's could be pretty busy with.
Well, May will be our big budget work
Okay.
session. Just on the
the first one, not the one before the meeting, the other one. We'll need a chunk of time in there to kind of give you guys overview of what's happening.
Possibly even August, we could even push it to August, that way we start the school year and kind of maybe talk into that too.
Yeah, June or August.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have her and Brandy come, our special education director, so that they can kind of hit from both. I'll put it in our notes for June or
There
August.
you go.
And I also really like the idea of looking at the resolutions a little bit more than just kind of, this is the number and this is what's happening. So maybe we could put that in on the calendar to kind of do more of a deep dive, maybe 3 times a year on some of the more specific ones to us.
Put it on a rolling calendar to look at, okay.
And maybe those are times that we could potentially Zoom with some of our representatives.
Very good.
I think by Janet and Monica and I are gonna get on a call to be able to kind of bring forth an approach to policy review. I will see if we can get that before the 6th. I don't think it will be a lot of discussion. I think it'll be us sharing, here's kind of what Monica, Casby's suggestion on how we do it, and then deciding when we start doing it. So I'm just adding that to in April or May, to sneak that in there to at least be able to move forward with.
Thank you. We've been kicking that can for a while.
If we don't bring it, so.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for the board before we run into debrief and adjourn?
I just had one other calendar update that might be a little bit different than last year, just we proposed to our teachers to look at the PBL Expo date shift and maybe incorporating more opportunities for students to participate and be present in that process. And so that is underway, and so the dates for that are gonna be in May on the 10th and 11th. It won't be happening in April, so if you're like, why is it not happening? It'll be during the day and then in the evening so that students can share, be present. I think before it was on a day where students weren't present, so they can be more active participants in the process. So that's a slight shift if somebody asks you, why are we not doing it in April? Or if you're wondering why it's not on the calendar where it used to be.
Okay. So, does anyone have the board debrief questions in front of you that would like to take that, or I can always.
I do.
So if we can tag team.
Perfect. You start.
Okay. Kind of for everybody, was there anything new that you learned tonight, or was there anything that you were surprised by or unprepared for during the meeting?
I learned the limits of what innovative status really means, and it's not this big giant thing, it's pretty specific.
Nice.
That's a good one, because we've been talking innovative status, and I think every time we do say it, it grows and it's some very specific waivers.
Yeah, people have that real broad view that we can do about anything we want, and that's just not true.
Well, I also think innovation is recognized and supported in in the learning models that we recognize and support, and that is recognized as best practice at a state level as well. So we can continue to be doing really innovative things here without there being a restriction to it. So
yes,
it doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden fit in the box. So.
Okay.
all right. Did the board cross into operations during this meeting? If so, when and how?
I don't believe so.
So I think we got close. I think we got close when we discussed having a board member in a meeting with a student representative and a staff member about decisions.
Which was that?
Well, that was what that
No,
was
it
good.
wasn't DAC.
That was you possibly bringing one of us in, and the two of you go talk to Josh.
Oh, yeah.
I think that since that one might be talked at the DAC meeting, I think it would be better for the board member to be at the DAC meeting instead of within that private meeting with you guys and Josh.
Yeah.
I agree with that one.
Okay, you found one. Your turn.
Okay. Is there any decisions made by the board in this meeting that needs to be communicated to the public, or is there any follow-up needed with any written communication or thank yous? Anything y'all can think of? I think we need to talk about possibly the second grade class.
Yeah,
Is there something we wanna do as a group, or is there something we wanna do as individuals?
I wrote a note to possibly just draft a response and send it to Tim. That's something
Okay,
we could
sure,
send
no,
back
I'd be
formally.
glad, if you guys, you wanna do that, get it to
Yeah.
me, or get it to, you know, the board members for any wordsmithing, and get it to me, and we'll get that out to the secretary. I think it's great, they did, it's a really cool thing, and they deserve the recognition. Okay,
Cool, I think we're good.
all right, okay, so, anything else from the board? If not, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Question?
Tim Hunter.
Yes, aye.
Craig Benelli.
Aye.
Rachel McWhirter.
Aye.
Craig McClure.
Aye.
Kara Taylor.
Aye.
Then I will call this meeting adjourned unanimously.